Hello, this is Carla Pendleton again with Step 3 in my instructional video about the demonstration of peonies. I painted for you in the last episode a little bit of the stem, which I'll actually incorporate into the design, and the leaves, which I will be incorporating the design in this step. Last time I just kind of showed you how to paint them. So now I'm going to go actually incorporate these leaves into my design, and I'm going to start here at the base and just pull a stem up. Yeah, I've got it going the wrong direction. I want it to go, sorry. This is how you correct it in China painting. It's very simple, which is another thing that's very lovely about this particular medium. It's so easy to fix. Right up until you fire it, that is. So let me go ahead and straighten up that main stem, and then we'll start to sketch in those leaves that we looked at last time. I'm not going to put quite such a complicated leaf pattern in this one. It's going to be a little bit less complex, just because I'm working in limited space here, and I know these will get bigger. So I'm just roughly sketching in that top leaf, which will be the largest, and then there's going to be a stem coming down here, and two somewhat immature stems coming off with less mature leaves. And remember, these leaves really have a double lobe rather than a triple lobe. So we'll just kind of roughly sketch those in and see if we can't make one of them a turn back like we did on the last episode. All right, so I'm just sketching those in, of course, with my fine liner. And now I'm going to pick up that 1/2" square shader again. That's this size. Natural hair brush. I'm going to load it. Now, it's not completely clean. I've left it from my earlier painting with the greens loaded in. But I'm going to go ahead and re-oil, because the last step that I did was basically wiping out. So now I'm reloading with the chartreuse. Again, very heavy load all the way across the brush. Then a side load of the middle value, Old Gold Green. And now I'm going to load a little bit of black green on the left corner, and I'm not sure if it's really showing up, but there it is. So a triple load. We'll start over here. I'm going to turn around. Don't want to knock everything winding there. Let me see if I can't make sure I am still focused. Okay, I think that'll do. We'll be working this side, and I'm just working very short abbreviated comma strokes up to the tip. Then we'll focus back around again, pull in that side, and I'm just using the flat of my brush, getting a nice shaded area here. And now I'm reloading that triple load again. Not putting as much paint in this time because I'm still carrying some from that last load. And I'm doing those little short comma strokes, then coming back in and pulling in that direction. So I'm doing each side of the leaf a little bit differently. Let's see if I can get this centered again. Reload and pull in another leaf. Maybe we'll put a turn back on this one. So we'll have a little flat edge right in there that we can turn back. Use the wipeout tool to kind of pull it out a little bit. Flatten out that edge, make it a little bit concave. And then we'll sketch in that turn back. Just like that. Okay, so this is probably not showing up quite as well as the last video, just because it's further away from the camera. So I'm just trying to describe everything that I'm working on here. I'm going to put a little bit more shadow under that turn back right there. And then I'll rotate and pull the turn back toward me. This will give you a little bit closer up view of what I'm doing here. Rotation is important to me because I really use the same stroke over and over. It's just I change the angle, and so things look different visually. So I like to use this turntable in all of my work. And so now I'm going to wipe out those highlights similar to the way we did in the last video, the last step. I'll pull some highlights out. And then I'm going to wipe the excess paint off the brush. I'm not reloading with medium, I'm just wiping it against my paper towel because I am just going to lightly touch and soften those highlights. I'm just very, very lightly touching them. I do not think I'm going to put veins in this particular painting. For one thing, these leaves are much smaller, and I don't want them competing. This is the main leaf, but I don't want it to compete with my focal point, which is, of course, the flower. Okay, so just a little more smoothing, and hopefully not touching the camera too much. And we'll just straighten out that edge a little bit. And I think I've almost lost that turn back. Too many wipeouts. Kind of got lost in there, so we'll recover it. And again, taking excess paint off the brush so that I get a lighter value there, representing that turn back. And I want to make this a little bit more concave. All right. Maybe a little softening in a different direction here. Just pull out a little bit more of that highlight. And now we'll work on the other leaves. These are kind of the secondary leaves coming out from the side. And remember, these really only have 2 lobes as opposed to the 3-lobed leaf at the tip. And we'll use this wipeout tool to kind of show that lobe there. And they don't have a real sharp tip like a rose leaf. But let's go ahead and put a little more highlight down the center. And you see the comma strokes here along this one edge. Those are just short comma strokes to lay in the paint. And then we'll come in here and soften it down a bit. All right, let's do the other leaf. I'm doing that triple load again. And we'll do this second one. And we may make it cut. Let's make it cut that stem. Because we can. And I don't like stems that get too long. They start to dominate the design a little bit in the end. And put just a little bit more shadow on that other leaf in the side. I'm sorry you didn't see that. I was away from the camera right here. I'm putting a little bit more shadow in that area. And I think we'll put some highlight in here. Let's get a highlighting stroke here. And I think we're pretty good on this other leaf. I'm just going to leave the highlight the way it is. Maybe pull a little bit more of that lobe over to the side. I'm just shaping so that we know these are not rose leaves. Even though they're kind of shaped a little bit like rose leaves, they definitely have this distinctive edging to them that you don't see on the rose leaf. And we'll soften this side over here just a touch. Maybe push it instead of pull it. Oop, pushed a little too much. And fortunately, it's China paint. Very easy to correct. Make sure I'm getting on the camera. And that's what we'll do. Put a little bit more color at the base. Now I'm just picking up a little black green, putting it in. And I think we're going to call that one, the color's laid in. I just need to go in and kind of make that double-lobed shape that is so common to peonies. And let's define that stem a little bit better. I've lost some of it in the process of painting the leaves in. And a little bit more over here as well. And we're going to call that one done. Yep, right up until I made that last stroke. We'll just move that in towards the leaf. Just move that paint on in toward the leaf and thin that down just a little bit. That stem got a little bit heavy at the tip. But we do need a little bit heavier stem right down here. So I'm using black green as a shadow color and just moving it down in towards the main stem of the flower. Same thing here, just a little bit more. There we go. And now I'd also like to put a couple of secondary stems up in this direction. So I'll lay out that stem. Now these are going to be less mature. They have not been growing. They've been growing along with the flower, but not necessarily along with the leaves. So here's going to be a base, and get that double-lobed shape in. Triple load your brush, chartreuse, middle value green, dark green, in this case it's black green that I'm using. Pull that in. And use those short comma strokes. I hope you can see it better on the camera on this to pull that other side in. We'll do a little bit more highlight along here. Take the excess paint off and soften a bit. Let's pull it this way. And now I'm going to change my mind about where that stem's going to come off. It's going to come off right here across, and I'm going to cross over the main stem of the flower. That will cut that down. And now I'm doing that triple load again, and I'm going to paint in this leaf. Now it's underneath the flower. I am not afraid to go into that paint that I put on previously. I think I'm hopefully on camera. It looks like I am. Yeah, may not be now. And I'm just pulling. I pulled those comma strokes to begin with. Let me do it again because I didn't really describe it very well. Like this, short comma strokes up to where the tip will be. And then we'll do a little highlight. We'll do a little shaping of that lobe there, pulling it up under. And then let's wipe against the towel, take off the excess paint, and use it to highlight, to soften that highlight. Don't get it too soft. I think a lot of this will disappear as we detail the peony here on top. So hopefully my camera will work. I'll check here when we're done, but I'm hoping you can see well enough where I'm going. On all these videos, I suggest that you look at them on a laptop or a computer screen, something besides. I'm really not oriented at all to a telephone screen, and I don't think you can get the detail that you'll want just by viewing these videos on your telephone. So I suggest, if that's what you're doing right now, when you get home and you start to paint, you might want to have your tablet or your laptop or be close to a computer monitor where you can get a close-up look at everything that I'm doing, which I haven't necessarily described very well. I want to take just a little bit more of this one off into that direction. There we go. All right, and I think that's it for leaves. I want to detail this one just a little bit more and pull that out just a bit. Just shape that edge, that secondary lobe, like that. I may have gotten that one too thin now. And we'll put it back in. So actually, when you watch these videos, you know how to correct. That is key in China painting. We definitely want to get all of our corrective work done before we fire. All right, I think that looks better. I'm happy with those leaves. As soon as I shape this one up, I think we're good. A little bite there. All right, that's it for putting the leaves on the design. And that, let me go ahead and do a close-up so you can get a close-up shot of where we're at right now. And all I have to do is figure out how to do the close-up. I think that's it. Okay, let me position the camera and piece. I'm going to rotate around and look at it from this angle. Now you've lost a lot in the glare, but I think you can see the basic shapes of these leaves and where they're located in the design. That's all for now. Thank you so much for your kind attention, and email me or phone me with questions. Unfortunately, I'm not much of a social media person, so I don't look at the comments on these. Thank you again. Bye-bye and God bless.